Gabriel, you are the Executive Vice President, Head of Digital Business for Chubb across APAC, EMEA, and LATAM. You are also an Ironman triathlete. You're a Renaissance man, and really excited because I wanted to throw a situation, a real life scenario that I hear quite a lot. So in this case, it is a middle-aged founder executive. On paper, everything looks great. They have a great career, great family. They try to stay active in terms of their physical routines. They keep up on things like mental health, meditation. But in reality, things just don't feel right, right? They're having difficulty staying present with their family. They're having difficulties sticking to physical routines, and they just don't feel satisfied in life, although they have everything on paper. So in this case, someone comes to you and they ask for advice. What would you tell them to focus on first?
Yeah, first of all, Joe, thank you for having me here. So it's great to have this conversation with you and a lot to unpack in that question. And that person is doing many things, but I understand his feelings. Believe it or not, me now maybe I'm getting old, but I'm approached by people with similar questions. Yeah, and try to chase different things, but I don't feel sometimes good, and that's normal. And a lot to unpack. Maybe we are living in a society that is 24/7. I mean, it's demanding jobs, demanding families. We are connected in a phone and this non-stop activity that doesn't help us. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons, starting from that, this chase of dopamine, chasing things, right? Trying to, when I get the next promotion, I will be happy. When I get the next thing, I will be happy. And that's not, I think, my experience, what brings you happiness. And or that sense of, as Naval Ravikant said, saying this, peace on the present moment. To get that peace in the present moment, I believe is not about chasing things, it's about being. It's about when your actions and what you do resonates with the person that you would like to become or to become. And so unpacking a little bit your question, that person that you say you are an entrepreneur with family, with many things, is what is your objective? What is that super ego like? Going to psychoanalysis, social psychology by degree, but just one concept. That what is that person that you project in 5 years from now?
Mhm.
If you're an entrepreneur, what's the person that you would like to become in 5 years? And you're a father of two beautiful children. So as I saw that the picture, or who you become as a father, you're an entrepreneur as well, right? Who you would like to become as an entrepreneur, and then the second thing is, are your actions and your systems aligned with the person that you would like to become? And that's when the tension start becoming. Because when you are closer to the person that you would like to become, the things you do are aligned to the person that you would like to be. I think you start getting this sense of purpose, the sense of I'm accomplished XYZ. Imagine the mission. You say I'm a triathlete, right? This morning I was going to the swimming pool at 5 in the morning. So at that time I was happy, not at all. I was not thinking going to the pool, despite this great weather here in Singapore. But when I finished, right, I say, okay, I felt good. Why? Because it's closer to my goal that this time is qualified for the Ironman 17.3 World Champions in a few weeks. You're a fantastic entrepreneur, and others know getting you closer to your objectives, and that's bring the sense of reducing that anxiety. So first of all is having clear objectives. Second is, do you have the actions and the systems that are aligned with those objectives? The third one is, getting the persistency and the grit, and the patience and the compounding of those. And the last thing that I will unpack, and then I would like to get your reaction, is there is a psychologist as well. His name is Arthur Brooks. Maybe you heard about him, maybe not. And as author of some books as well. I think relationships are super important. And again, we are connected. You scroll down, you think you have friends in Instagram or Facebook, but you are not. I think we need to spend time face to face and having purpose and meaning and do something that goes beyond yourself. So I think those are the different components. It's hard to unpack. Your
Mm.
question is not easy, but hopefully give you a little bit of perspective based on my experience and what I learned.
I want to find out a little bit more about those. So I think we'll start with the first one. And maybe it's too personal, but what was if you look back 5 years ago or even 5 years from now, what was the person that you wanted? Because I think this is where many people struggle with what does it actually look like? So for you, what did that person look like in 5 years, or what did that look like previously the past 5 years?
Yeah, so I remember Matthew McConaughey, this famous American actor winning Oscar. He said, "I want to be proud of the person that I mean, of my future me, right? I mean, everything that I'm doing now, so I need to be proud of that." So looking back, 5 years from now, first thing is as a parent, I have two boys, 15 and 14, being the example to them what's being a father and a man nowadays and being an example, not only talking, also what you do is as important as you talk, or more important than you talk. So being that 5 years from now is for me has been very important to act and as a consequence of my responsibility as a parent. Second, I think is at the end of the day, we spend many times. I love my craft, as you mentioned. I'm an executive of a large insurance. My responsibility is digital business, and at that time, 5 years ago, we were starting and right now it's $1 billion book of business globally. And so it was a lot of purpose and a lot of focus on accomplish that goal, not only for me, also for my colleagues, my partners, my vision, right? I truly believe the mission that we have is helping others. So the third component is 5 years ago, and we only have one body, we only have one, this is no big plan for what we have. At that time, I was competitive doing endurance sports, but always is about I would like to be, top performance and hopefully go to the world championship. 5 years ago, I was not able to qualify. Now I qualified last year first time, so it means it was something that I was able to keep doing that. And then besides the working family and others about relationships, building a network of people around me about Singapore. And for me also charity is important, give back to others. Also that give you that sense of connection and contribution that I think is super important for human beings. And just to let you know, I'm doing, believe it or not, I create this five, everything written in my 5 years. And then I have my next 5 years as well. I'm doing that every year. And then I break this down into objectives that is very tangible, smart objectives, right? It needs to be
Mm.
something accountable, needs to be something that I can break down by month, by quarter. So what does it mean? If I want to do X, Y, Z, then what are the actions that I need to do and with outcomes by quarter, by month, so I can go and review. So are my actions connected with my yearly objectives that are connected with my 5 year vision, right? So, and then is the perseverance and the patience. And that's important because I've seen so many people that start something and then flashy thing and then you change and then you do things and it's hard, but you need to say no to many things if you are clear in the person that you want to become. Because at the end of the day, we have limited time. Time is the only thing that we cannot change. So you need to align your time, what you are doing with your objectives, and then go for it and then compound, provide time on those things that you can control. So that was kind of what I thought 5 years ago, and that's the same logic and the same system that I apply for my next 5 years. Not perfect, believe me. So I've learned a lot, and I'm, ups and downs like every other human being. But I think that process of getting better sticks on my personality, and is what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that. So just to recap, you mentioned it sounds like you put it into a few different buckets, one of which you mentioned family, career, health, and then I guess society would be the fourth one from what I'm hearing. And then you
Yeah,
said
personal development, society.
personal development and society. Okay. And then for each of those, you provide a SMART goal on a quarterly and then on a monthly basis.
Yeah, that's right. Or even weekly. For example, breakfast, a coffee, I even lunch with an interesting person in Singapore to increase my network and learn from the ecosystem. I'm in tech, so I'm curious on that. So that's something that I'm doing weekly. I'm trying to do weekly. So if I'm doing that, it makes me feel good. I'm connected. I'm learning. I'm increasing my knowledge. So that's just an example of things that you can do even on a weekly basis. Another example, I like to read like everyone, but it's hard to find time. Another system that I have, I'm not using my phone or Netflix from Monday to Friday. There is no phone, there is no Netflix. It's so easy to click dopamine, scroll down, and you wake up and it's 1 hour late, right? So then what I'm doing, I'm reading because there is no options, right? Those are the kind of rules and systems. Why? Because my objective is to read 15 books per year. So in order to get books per year, I need to find time. And that's the kind of systems that I develop around me that help me. If you start compounding that by day, by month, by year, by 5 years, by 15 years, you get into trajectory that gets you would like to be. And in the meantime, to your first question, you start feeling good because at the day is consistent with your vision of yourself. If you achieve in there is that feeling. I mean, you have here now Michael 14 gold medals in general, right? He was depressed after get the medal.
So we have step one, which is put together the big goals that you achieve. The second is put together your systems that you talked about on a quarterly, monthly, and weekly basis. Let's move to the third one because I think this is where people struggle the most. You mentioned, I guess, using your phone or Netflix from Monday to Friday. Now the question is, how do you do that? Because this is where most people break down. They think the first two, okay, relatively simple. The third one is where I think where 90% of the people just completely lose it. So how do you maintain that discipline?
Yeah, so it's I think you mentioned it, discipline is and it's about systems and routines. I'm using the phone like every other person, but when I'm going to bed, I said I'm not going to use the phone for that period of time. And this is about habits, this famous James Clear book, Atomic Habits. So you need to break it down in things that you can do and starting with actions that you can control and it become a habit. So
Mm.
you cannot become an Ironman and train for an Ironman in the first week. No, you need to start walking. Now you start walking, right? And then you start walking by few days, and at the end of the day you start having the behavior, and the behavior become at the end habit. So I strongly recommend Atomic Habits. I think James is the author, if I'm not mistaken. This is a fantastic book, and it helps you to break this down into tasks. For me, it was natural. It's the way I'm wired like that to stick into routines. I'm very chaotic, so I think it's the way I evolved is that be very predictable on my actions, and then I build the discipline. I think the two super weapons that you have are boring, but discipline and habits are a superpower nowadays. But you can develop that.
Absolutely. I read the book last year and I think it's changed my life. I was going to ask you the resource that changed your life later on, but that's one that I think changed mine
Mhm.
recently because one thing I've been doing is I have my morning routine and I have my evening routine. So my morning routine is every day, Monday through Sunday, I will do some form of exercise. So whether it's walk, jog, calisthenics for at least 20, 30 minutes every single day. And then in the evening, I have, because I have trouble sleeping often. Your mind's racing a lot.
Mm.
So I have this wind down routine, which involves some very simple stretches and things like that, just to calm down my system. And I found that both of those have helped with stress and just my present state, I guess my wife would say. So yeah, I agree with you in terms of sort of habits. Another thing that you mentioned earlier, I think you touched on, is being present. Now, this is something that I think many of us struggle with because, oftentimes we're either thinking about past mistakes we made or things that didn't go right. And you mentioned we all make mistakes, right? And the other side is we're thinking about the future because if we make these goals, then we're thinking, okay, how do I do this now? What's the next step? What's the next step? So I know once again you're big into family and obviously you're very big into being present with your colleagues and partners and staff. Oh, I'm curious, how do you do that when so many things are racing in your mind back and forth, future and past?
No, it's a great question, Joe, and it's part of the process. So I remember when I was younger, right? I was not with the anxiety that you describe and anticipating the future, trying to anticipate everything. And that's come because you want to control the things that you cannot control at the end of the day. And that's what creates your anxiety because you have certain limited of things that you can act, and there is a huge thing that also you want to, and the more activity you are, the more things you try to control, and then it's a tornado. You are like inside of a tornado. More and more there are few things that are changing. First thing is that you need to rely on your strength, your journey, what you are doing, and believe in yourself. things are going to go right. I mean, you need to be optimistic with the outcome of your effort. If you're putting the hours, if you're putting the effort, the things that you can control, the outcome will be good. And if turns different, it doesn't mean you fail. It means that it will be different outcome. And we are, you have your experience. I'm sure things that you thought are bad outcomes at the end turns fantastic outcomes, right? So you need to trust the system. You need to trust your destiny. You need to trust your fate, basically, and double down on the things that you can control. I'm a truly believer of that. We human beings, is part of our nature. We overthink. Okay, what that person is thinking, why I received this email, why I get this comment. Right? I mean, that's part of my job. Many people come to me, oh, I'm thinking about X, Y, Z. 99% of those thoughts are imaginations from my brain. If you think about the worries that you have, almost the majority of those are not existing at all. And we have been worried about that in the past 2 months. So that's one. So I really learned to focus on the things that I control. This is a stoicism, by the way. Maybe you're familiar, Joe, but that's very
Mm,
stoic approach. Focus on the things that I can control. And honestly, you cannot do much for the things that you cannot control. It doesn't mean going naive from life. As I mentioned, I think you need to have plan A, plan B, even plan C if you can. That's great. But after you have the plans, after you've put the hours, right, then do not overthink on aspects of your life that are around you that you cannot control, because that's what creates you stress.
mm,
When there are many things that you think that you won't control and you can't. That's the meaning of a stress. And that happens when you go to bed and then you start thinking on all the aspects that you want to have under control and you can't.
mm. Yes. I was just giving this advice because I think you and I have that in common. I think you mentioned a post sometime this year or last year about Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism and what you can control and what you can't control. And I was giving the same advice to a
Yeah.
student who came to me after class and she was, kind of breaking down like, oh, I'm so worried about getting a job. I'm so worried about my grades. And I basically told that advice. I said, draw two circles, basically. And I think, this is not my idea, but those all the things that you control, which is your attitude and your actions, and then everything else you can't control, which is 99.9% of everything else. Right? So, yes, I think that exercise does help in terms of framing it. I think, many people, myself included, still, it creeps in those other thoughts, which I guess is very normal. But even for me, I think because the nature of kind of the work we do, it's always thinking, like we're knowledge-based workers. So even if it's not a negative thing, I'm always thinking, okay, I should try this or I should try that. And oftentimes, it comes at times where, with my family or with people that I don't want to be not present with. I'm not sure if you've had anything like that before.
In what sense? Could you provide me a little bit more color?
Yeah, so for example, like I'm playing games with the kids and then I'm like, okay, a business idea pops in my head or
Mm,
and I'm like, oh wait, I should do that. Oh, wait, no, now's not the time for me to have this discussion, right? So that's the other
mm.
side of it. Sometimes it's not necessarily destructive. Sometimes it is like, okay, this is gonna happen, I'm worried, takes my thoughts. But sometimes it's positive, but it's not in the right moment. I'm not sure if once again you've encountered anything like that.
Yeah, man, that's the world that we're living, right? And then add to that the constant notifications and emails from work and friends and WhatsApp and everything. We need to live in these non-stop parallel realities, 7 lives at the same time. But we need to reduce our anxiety. I mean, to your point, when you're with your kids, you are with your kids and try to, you say, okay, I get this idea, I get this message, but this is time that I'm committed to this task. Be very intentional with your time. I think that's the key thing, be intentional with the time. So it's not your job, but sometimes I have a sense that we have trying to be everywhere in doing everything at the same time, multitasking. We think that that's positive, but it's completely negative. I think we need to be focused. You are in a meeting with a key partner or key client or team. So just focus on that, right? Try to minimize the you are with the family. I mean, it's an example that you see many times, right? I see families on. I have one rule, right? We don't have phones or screens on the table for dinner, lunch, right? So we are family of four, so there's no phones, right? Because if you think about it, it's the only time that we are together. I mean, you have two beautiful daughters, right? It's the only time that because you are working in school after school, you stay with one kid, but it's not the other kid or your wife or whoever, right? We stay no phones, right? No phones, and that's a time that, again, going to the sense of connections sense of, and that we are present. I'm sure you have seen so many times that you go to a restaurant and you see families of four, five, even six people. Everyone is staring at the phone. They are not present. They are distracted by the phone. They are done hitting your dopamine and completely, being engaged with those devices long periods of time. But so trying to focus on what you are doing now, but be very intentional what you are doing. You are training, you are working, right? You try to get those spaces. And obviously there will be things, the best ideas maybe of what happened when you are training. I mean, that happened, right? That's normal. But you put a piece of paper or you have a phone and you do a voice note or, okay, this is my idea. But then you come back quickly to what's supposed to do. Again, it's about systems and processes. I think that really help you to not divert too much and help you to stay present in what you are doing at that time.
Yeah, so that's really good advice. One thing I've been doing this year is literally trying to be more present. And if I have an idea, I'll just do what you said, just create a voice, and I was like, I'll come back to it, right? So if it's a positive thought, I'll write it down. If it's a negative thought, which once again we all have, I've been hearing about this analogy of like your brain is like a river, right? And there's constant flow of information and stuff flowing. So one person was talking about you place that thought on like a lily pad or whatever it is, and you that thought go
Mm.
away. And I think that has helped me mentally kind of reframe when I'm kind of lost in the moment. I'm trying to have always thoughts. I say, okay, the positive thoughts I'll write down. It's going to help me. The negative thoughts, once again, I'll just put it on that river, let it flow down the river, and then I'll just be done with it for now.
That's very good advice. Also, for me, I mean, it's so important how you eat as well. One thing is a negative note, but you start feeling the sense that something is not working well. Are you eating? How you are eating? Are you sleeping? Bro? Basic things, right? What is your relationship with drugs, meaning alcohol or maybe other things? This doesn't help you a lot. Exercise is a great, as human beings, it's a great trigger of many biochemical components that make you feel good. Staying present with someone face to face, grabbing a coffee, talking to someone, right? Open your heart, your soul. This is what I'm feeling, no? Because it's not always perfect. We have good days, bad days, and there is good news, bad news, something that we cannot change. But it's what you can control, right? Are those elements that if you start adding all those things versus what you think you should be, and so on and so forth. I love this phrase, is the peace on the present moment.
I was going to ask you about kind of how you manage stress, but I think you kind of talked about that once again. One of which is exercising, eating healthy, make sure you get enough sleep, talk with people you're comfortable with, and opening up on some of the things. I think this is something I'm really bad at. A lot of people come to me and they kind of share their worries, but I think I've gotten better because I think it does help. It's quite cathartic in that approach. So, anything else you do? Because obviously you're in a high pressure job, once again, senior executive, competitive industry. Are there any things that you do to really manage your stress or anxiety?
I think you say it right. Trying to sleep 6 hours at least, right? And doing exercise every day, eating healthy. I quit completely alcohol 3 years ago and it really helped me. Honestly, it was not that drinking much, but 5%, 2%, 3% helps you, right? I mean, everyone is everyone, and and that's good. Eating not processed food,
Mm.
critical. I try to eat everything but natural food, and then having a network that helps you. My wife is fundamental, my kids, right? I have other people around me. My sense of purpose means I have committed to my craft, what I'm doing, and it's not just me. It's a responsibility with my colleague, my peers, the project, to stay connected and to have this sense of purpose. And then besides that, I have other activities that help me to give back to society. For me, that's very important, especially I'm getting old. So I have this sense, so now is the moment to give back. And I've been blessed by my journey, so help others in the journey to become the best version of themselves.
Yes. And my final question, and I know you've already talked on some resources, is what is the one book or resource that has had the biggest impact on your life?
We talk about different books, right? So I think James Clear, Atomic. There are many by Ryan Holiday. We want to go more. Marcus, I think I was reading that book during the pandemic when I was moving from Miami to Singapore. It really helped me. Things that I can control. That this guy is an emperor. I mean, look at this. It really helped me to put things into perspective. And I studied in Rome, so it was very good. But in one of the books, there is so many books. right? And there is another one, I think, we talk about discipline, is the Joko Wilkins. Maybe you are familiar with this guy. He's a former Navy SEAL, and it's called Discipline Equals Freedom. You want to get more money, save more, right? It's a fantastic book that resonates with my way of thinking, right? That equals freedom is a great book that changed my life. We haven't talked about it. I started business and administration, so business college degree after 2 years. I was bored, and the social psychology book came to me. It's called The Art Persuasion. I think the name is Kalchani. It's about how humans, at the end of the day, we are hardwired in certain components, and how behavior can be changed, and how humans can pursue other humans, right, based on several actions. That opened door to me about behavioral economics and about how can we change the way we act, the way we do things. I decided to change career from business to social psychology at that time. And then I start marketing, and then I do business again, but with different perspective, not from economics, much more from human behavior. That's really changed my life, thinking about humans and why we behave in a certain way. And still, trying to figure it out and apply that to myself.
Well, Gabriel, thank you so much. Like I said, I have some wonderful advice. I've taken a lot of notes myself, so I really appreciate you sharing all your wisdom with us here today.
No, thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure, and also learning a lot.
Yes,
Let's have lunch one of those days. I'll
let's do
send you a
it.
note after that, and let's find time. I would love to have you. You're a great leader on the Singaporean community, very entrepreneurial.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
it's great to spend time with you.
Well, thank you so much. And for everyone watching and listening, feel free to share this episode. So many great tips in there, and we'll see you on the next episode.